just like their compatriots at the WGA are trying to, SAG is also very concerned about the use of AI in the future of film, as they should be.
Jeez Louise, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
dystopian nightmare we're living in, people.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe the proletariat needs to rise up. Maybe we need a full Marxist takeover of Hollywood, burn the studios to the ground, let blood flow through the streets. Something's got to give, because otherwise you wind up in a situation where you have people thinking that they're being dosed with nanobots in the Mountain Dew at their local AMC. Because like I look at my quaint little AMC and the problems it has. People are still checking in every day on My Not Whiners and Complainers about that AMC and whether that theater's fixed yet. Because you don't dare go to a movie in that theater. Like in that
Mhm.
particular unit where that AMC is, boiling you alive. But because of Sound of Freedom, there's a whole cohort of people who are being drug out of their basements, drug away from their computer monitors and their phones and message boards, and they're going to a movie because they think it proves or validates something about their view of the world, which is that there's a Rothschild family conspiracy to harvest the blood of untold millions of children who are trafficked around the world. And they believe that wholeheartedly. And the people who believe that wholeheartedly are the people that this movie is about, and the guy who is starring in the film. They believe this. They think it's really something happening in the world. And that's fine for them to believe that. There are people who believe that this planet's going to burn to a crisp in 5 years. You can believe whatever the fuck you want. But there's this strange pushback against this movie and what's real about what it portrays because of the zaniness of the beliefs behind the people, involved in it. And so yeah, this is a movie that's was been in the can for 5 years. Jim Caviezel made this thing a long time ago. It was kind of lost in the flotsam and jetsam of the Fox deal when Disney bought Fox. And for a while there, it was just not going to get released at all because Disney looked at it and they were like, who the fuck is this for? Because it didn't really fit with their worldview. Because this is a movie that was made for the people who went to the Michael Bay's Benghazi movie. What was that called again?
Mm.
I can't remember.
Oh, 13 hours?
13
Is that what it
hours.
is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this is operator porn, but it's
Mhm.
also empathy porn. I'll just talk about the movie for a little bit here. It is a very competently made and very grim and stark portrayal of human trafficking as it actually looks like. Like in practical terms, this is what it is. It's like, because the beginning of the movie, you just see this very pretty, well-dressed lady walk into some slum in in some Latin American country, and finding a cute little girl and her little brother and saying, "Oh, you guys are so cute. Where is your dad? Can I meet him?" Meeting the dad, saying that she's a talent scout and that he should bring his children to her office in another, city so that they can be photographed and auditioned for stuff. And what ends up happening, of course, because as soon as this dad shows back up to pick his kids up, this office has been completely stripped. All the kids that were there are gone. All the adults that were there are gone. And they've all been brought into the human smuggling thing. It's like that is probably what it really does look like. And what follows is, tracking what happens to the sister and brother, and then how they eventually intersect with a guy named Tim Ballard, who is a part of like Homeland Security or the FBI or some shit, who his job it is to catch pedophiles. And then you move on to him. This is like 40 minutes into the movie. You finally move on to Tim Ballard, and it's him working with a pedophile at the end of the chain who, like later in the timeline, is going to the gross dude in Tijuana and paying him to have sex with a little boy, and trying to get from that guy to the guy that actually has the kid, and then realizing, oh shit, like there's something even bigger behind that guy. And knowing that this little boy's sister is still out there, still in the system, drives Tim Ballard in real life, drove him to like walk away, like go rogue, go full Liam Neeson in real life instead of operating under his, mission parameters. He doesn't listen to the men in Washington, and he like sets up this massive sting where he creates a pedophile hotel because he's just hoping that he catches this girl he's looking for in the net, and he doesn't. And that's where it just keeps getting more and more unbelievable. But from what I've read, this movie hews very closely to what is true. Now, what is, dubious is what the real Tim Ballard, says about what's going on in the world. And it's probably dubious to look at what he does, like with some skepticism, because his whole like nonprofit organization, they're like non-governmental, going out there and rescuing kids like they're Blackwater, like they're a charity or something. And there's, concerns about how he does what he does. But the movie itself is worth watching. It's fucking hard to watch. You don't see anything, as awful as what you see in, Palm Trees and Power Lines, for example. But it's a competently made film. The score is very powerful and scary. It's done by the guy that works with Guillermo del Toro. I forget his name. But like it has a genuinely competent, crew behind it. It's got Bill Camp as some kind of like weird pedophile hunter who operates in Colombia named Vampiro. And he kind of chews scenery and has fun with it. But one must look beyond all of the histrionics of today, because like this is a totally fine movie that is saddled with all kinds of labels and associations because of how it's been delivered to us and the zany bullshit said by the guys involved in it, on podcasts and stuff. Because after the Disney didn't want this, it got picked up by Angel Studios, which is a over-the-top distribution service, an expression I've never heard before. But it's basic. They're just a Christian boutique streaming platform that makes special content for that audience. And they were the ones to buy this because, a lot of people in the, really wacky, Utah Mormon evangelical community probably do believe that there are adrenochrome swilling elites out there in the world. And this is the movie that supports their worldview. And of course we can't have that. But this movie should probably still be seen. If you can handle it. I know that this isn't for everybody, but it is not a faith-based movie. God only gets mentioned in the most perfunctory of senses. There's not like people praying constantly, and like Jesus doesn't get invoked. This would have been a genuine Hollywood release were it not for circumstance and, industry stuff. So I don't know if this had just been released by Fox, I don't think it would have been treated nearly the way it's being treated.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, it probably would have just been dumped, like
Yes.
on I don't know, like a VOD platform or something.
Absolutely.
And just been like, here, the only reason, because from what I understand, like you said, this isn't a religious movie at all. The only reason that it might be is because they filmed this like weird pickup that's at the end of the movie of Jim Caviezel
That's
like talking.
weird.
Yeah, like talking directly to the camera, like, and just being like, I guess he has like I haven't seen the movie, but I have heard about this like 3-minute monologue that he like gives the camera at the end of the movie that they just Angel Studios filmed. It's the only part of the movie that they've like filmed themselves, that they added to the movie after they bought it. And I'm glad that you're able to be the voice of reason on this movie and say that it's actually a decent, as far as the good tenets of a good movie go, plot, characters, camera work, music, sound design, that all that stuff is sound, because this movie is so tainted by like both sides, where everybody's acting so predictable about this movie. Like on one side you have, these Christian people that are like, I need to uplift this movie because my pastor said so, or my favorite right-wing YouTube commentator said so. and this is the hill I'm gonna die on. And then on the other side, you have all these like film journos that are like, I need to fucking kill this movie with clickbait articles that are like 10 reasons why you shouldn't like Sound of Freedom, or
Yeah.
Sound of Freedom is doing gangbusters at the box office, but here's why you shouldn't like it. Just bullshit clickbait like that, and everybody's just acting so predictably towards it. How they, how their side says they should act, and I'm glad that you can kind of be the voice of reason here.
Because that's the thing. I was reminded as I was watching this and like looking at the conversation, I was reminded a lot of Cuties. It's funny, but it's like everything's inverted. And
Mhm.
what's bizarre about Cuties is that the message of that movie, I haven't seen it myself, I'll just be clear, but from what I understand, it's very socially conservative. The like the reaction that people are having to it, says a lot about their worldview. Because like if you were looking at Cuties and saying, "Oh, they're it's degenerate, it's child porn," you're misunderstanding that this movie is projecting a message that you agree with. You know what I mean? Like there is a nuanced way. We're kind of like watching Salo, like 100 Days of Sodom. Like, or even something as as awful and reprehensible as like a Serbian film. Like eventually something gets so like twisted around where it's like, but aha, like that was entirely the point, and eventually you just have to stop being so ridiculous and just take something in if you're actually able to stomach it. And this is a movie that doesn't chop your head off. It always cuts away, but it shows you enough to know that you're seeing something terrible. Like because they show the what's happening to the little girl by showing a whiskeyed up white gringo guy, wearing shorts and an opened up button up, stumbling into the room, and she's sitting on the bed, and then they tastefully pan away as very grim strings play. So yeah, like it's an artful movie, and I will say that the really fantastical stuff where Jim Caviezel goes full Solid Snake and like inserts himself into the Amazon so he can try and find this warlord that is keeping this little girl as a sex slave, and then extra gets her out of there while also killing the bad guy. Like it has to be fake, it has to not be true, but it's pulled off in such a Hollywood way, but so competently. I don't know, like yeah, like that's where I was like, holy shit, like this would have been totally solid in any other circumstance. But Jim Caviezel has a Jesus complex, and Angel Studio does this sneaky thing where because in that sales pitch at the end of the movie, Caviezel's basically saying, hey, go onto this website and buy another ticket so somebody else can see this movie, pay it forward. So you have people buying their own tickets and then like putting down money to buy more tickets. So part of the box office success for this movie is kind of fake, because it's just the unique business model that Angel Studios utilizes. Because yeah, they will show their stuff like before churches, and then they'll pass the collection plate, and then all that money gets added to the collective box office take for a movie. But half of those tickets are for people who actually haven't seen it. It's kind of like like our North Dakota governor Doug Burgum giving $20 gift cards to everyone who gives him $1.
Yeah, they're basically counting donations in the box office total, essentially, is what they're doing.
And then Tim Pool can be like, this movie beat out Indiana Jones, isn't that embarrassing? But moving on from that, I spent a lot of time talking about that, so thank you for humoring me.
Yeah.
In his semi-retirement, if we can even call it that at this point, we have a new joint from our man Steven Soderbergh. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, this is a new Max original show, limited series, I believe. And yeah, this is from Soderbergh and then Ed Solomon, the guy who wrote his previous movie, No Sudden Move. And
okay, forgot about that.
This is much, I don't know, this is very different than that movie, though. That movie had like a tinge of comedy. But it was kind of a noir. This is like full-blown, like completely serious noir movie, modern day noir. And I don't know, with modern day Soderbergh, you never know what you're gonna get because he's so inconsistent. You know, he makes stuff like, you know, he can make Logan Lucky and Kimmy, and it could be great. Or he could make Unsane. I don't know if you ever saw Unsane, but
I
it was
did not.
awful. Or like you know, even like Magic Mike 3 I heard was pretty bad. And then he can make something like No Sudden Move, his previous movie, which was just fine. And so he's so inconsistent in his later years. And I guess I'm here to tell you that this show is bad. This is
Oh
one of the bad
no.
ones.
I was gonna carve out some time to watch this. Okay.